Today, we're going to be breaking down 3 unguardable moves that all wide receivers need to learn. So this first move we're going to be going over is a variation of like a sail route, which is essentially like a deeper out route, like a 12 to 15 yard out route where you're almost rounding it. Now, this move is kind of like almost a rocker step. In a sense, it's almost like a post dig route, but it's going the opposite way. So I'm going to show it full speed, and then we'll kind of break it down step by step so you guys can get a handle on it. So this DB actually disguises his leverage here. Pre-snap, we have a wide receiver who has a reduced split, which means that his split is cut down. He's lined up closer to the offensive line. He's lined up on the hash. So a smart DB, anytime that he sees that, he's going to be expecting an outside breaking route. The only reason a wide receiver would cut his split down, usually, especially in one-on-ones, is to use all of this field space to run an outside breaking route. But he's trying to disguise his leverage. He's lining up inside shade pre-snap. So when this wide receiver starts to run his route, he actually disguises it and shades to the outside. But it's a great way to react, I should say. So let's play at full speed. So this wide receiver starts to stem inside. DB attacks, or DB disguises that leverage and jumps outside, but this wide receiver, this is a hell of a route. It's almost like a way to sell a corner post in a sense, but with a rocker step to get to that deeper sail route. So let's break this thing down, right? So as we can see, DB starts inside of the hash. So as a wide receiver, if I'm running a sail route and I have this type of look from a DB, I don't really necessarily need to be creative with the move that I'm running. What I want to do is I want to try to stem him to the inside. I want to make him think I'm running some type of inside breaking route, like a post route, like a dig route, because that's what's going to get that DB to keep that leverage, because the only reason he's inside shade in the first place, we think, is to prevent the inside route. So that's why I'm going to stem him. But you see this DB takes this leverage step right here, shades to the outside to try to disguise it. So this wide receiver cuts. Now, again, we're trying to make this DB think that we are running a corner post. So he cuts off of this inside foot, and it's 3 hard steps to the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, and puts the brakes on. It's almost like a way, you guys have probably all seen this before on a post dig, where guys will run up, they'll break to the post 3 steps, and then when they flatten out to run that dig, they'll throw a rocker step to the outside to hold this DB. This is essentially like the same thing going the opposite way. So he breaks again. Remember, you break to the corner route, you break to the out route, whatever it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Push off of that third step, sell to the inside to get that DB to bite, and then we have all this space to the outside. So that's a great move you could use on the fly as a wide receiver if that DB decides to disguise his leverage. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Starting to attack, he takes that, act like we're running that corner post, and be able to get out of this break, okay? So now, next move we're going to be discussing is going to be something called a lateral rocker step. So I'm sure a lot of you know what a rocker step is, but maybe you haven't heard of a lateral rocker step. And that's what we're going to be breaking down next. Now, also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you guys would like a daily training schedule to follow this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below for our elite wide receiver training package. What you'll get access to is 8 weeks of daily on-field route running, press release, catching workouts. We break down the exact sets and reps to do, like Monday you're doing this workout, this many sets and reps. We give a video example of each drill so you're not confused on what to do. And then we also include an 8-week daily gym workout schedule and a 4-week speed development schedule. So we also have some things that'll work on your speed. Examples of each exercise, sets and reps, days you're doing this, days you're doing that. So guys, if you're interested in this kind of thing, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on our elite wide receiver off-season training package. Let's get back to this video. So now, rocker step, you guys, can be used on a bunch of different routes, right? You could use a rocker step on a post, you could use it on a corner, you could use it on a 10-yard out or a 10-yard dig. I honestly like a rocker step on anything deeper than about 7 to 8 yards where you could cut off of one specific foot. So the quarterback is lined up to the inside over here where I'm drawing these arrows, and we have a DB who's lined up in outside shade press. So let's watch what this wide receiver does. So he attacks him off the line, gets over the top and stacks him, and he uses this lateral rocker step to create some space on this out route. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what that is. So he comes off the ball. Again, DB's outside leverage. So I'm not going to be able to take this outside release. Remember, a disciplined DB, when he lines up outside shade, remember how we know he's outside shade is if the middle of his body is even with my back foot. That tells me that he's outside shade. So if this DB's outside shade, his goal is don't let me go to the outside. So if my game plan when I have an outside breaking route is, oh, I'm going to give him a quick jab inside, get to the outside, one cut and go. If he's disciplined, he's going to hold that leverage. He's not going to let you get to the outside. And if you run your out route 2 steps away from the sideline, that's not good, guys. It's not enough spacing for for my quarterback. So we come off the ball, DB tries to get a little physical, that's cool. Let's take the inside release, take what he gives me so I don't mess up timing with my quarterback, and I give my quarterback space to throw me open. Now, anytime I'm against press coverage, whether it's inside shade or outside shade, my goal is always to get as skinny as possible with the DB. You want your left hip to go right past his left hip because that allows us to do something called restack. And restacking is when this DB is trailing my hips. He's trailing behind me. And that is where you can use this lateral rocker step. So on like a post route or a corner route, I'm sure a lot of you have used this rocker step. And if you're not familiar with the rocker step, what it is like it's a 1-2 at the top of the break. You step in the direction you are going first. So you step to the out, you're running an out route, you step to the out first, fake back to the inside, and then we go. So we're trying to make this DB think that we're running a dig, make him think that we're running a post, depending on the route that I'm actually running, right? So when we do this, you guys, usually on like a post route or a corner route, when I use this type of move, I don't want to break my stride. I want my strides to maintain like full length in a sense, because I have to get to the depth of the route. I'm sure a lot of you have used this type of rocker step, and a coach has gotten on you, kind of maybe more an old school coach, and he's been like, oh, that takes too long, just get in and out of the break. And usually what happens is because wide receivers will shorten their steps on that. Now, if I have to run a 90-degree route, like an out route or a dig route, I don't want to use a more so like vertical step where my strides are long, because then my out route is going to be rounded, and there's no point in doing this. If I want to get straight across, I want to get straight flat, I need to use more of a lateral rocker step. So that's what this kind of move that we're going over works on. That's prefacing it. Now let's talk about the technique of it, right? So this first step, you guys, is more of like a flat move in a sense, right? You're stepping out rather than stepping forward at a 45-degree angle. So we step in the direction we're going first, but it's lateral. So when we cut, we want to push off of my inside arch of my cut foot and fake back to the inside. Again, it's more of a lateral stepping move because we have a 90-degree outside breaking route. Now, when I do this, you guys, a DB, when we have him stacked, especially a disciplined DB, is going to be watching what? He's going to be watching my hips, right? He's not going to be looking at my head and my shoulders. So when I do this move, we're not going to get anything out of just, leaning with my head and my shoulders, giving a little head tilt. I have to sell with my hips. You got to think this first move, that first move is a hard step. It anchors you, but you are pushing off of that move, and your hip, your shoulder, and your head are attached with that second cut, because that will help your body actually go with the cut and actually sell the move, and that's what's going to get that DB to bite to the inside. So remember, guys, if I'm using a rocker step on a dig or an out route, it is more of a lateral move. It is not a vertical move. We're not taking long strides. It is a lateral move so I could get out flat. I don't round this break, making the timing off for the quarterback and letting that DB recover. So now, this next move that we are going to be going over is a press release move that all wide receivers, I feel, need to learn, and that is something called a split release. So a split release is something that some of you may have heard about, but you may not have heard the exact technique on a split, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So I love a split release when a DB is lined up in head-up press coverage. You could use it when he's inside shade. You could use it when he's outside shade, but I like it when he's head-up, and I'll explain why. So we're running a slant route right here. So this receiver splits, DB shoots a hand, and then we're able to get off the ball and run that slant route and just get up into this thing. So let's talk about it, right? So split release, let's go over the mechanics first, and then we'll talk about the reason why. So the mechanics of the split release, a lot of people think that you have to jump with your feet. That's not the case, guys. You are literally taking your front foot in your stance. So in this case, it's the receiver's right foot. Your front foot is stepping out, your back foot is going up, and when your back foot goes up and front foot goes out, they are both making contact with the grass at the exact same time. I call it coming to balance. Both feet hitting the ground at the same time, and they are just slightly outside of your shoulders. That's a balanced position. That's an explosive position, but it has to happen fast. What a lot of receivers think is that, oh, this back foot has to go wide, my front foot's got to go wide, and then they get too wide, and they don't have much explosion, and it takes forever for them to have both feet hit the ground at the same time. There's got to be some twitch to it, you guys. So remember, front foot goes out, back foot goes straight up. Both feet hit the ground at the exact same time. You are splitting your feet. Now, the reason why I love this against a head-up press coverage DB is because we can react off of him. When both cleats are in the grass at the same time, let's say we have to run a 3-step slant here, right? Let's say this DB stays head up, or maybe he shades to the outside a little bit. I would love an inside release because that's easy money, right? But let's say we do this split release, right? And you see how this DB shoots a hand, kind of shades to the outside. This receiver is able to just push off of this outside foot, react, and get up into his slant route, right? right? Not lose any timing, not lose any spacing, because that's how that DB played it. But what if we split and this DB jumps to the inside? We could easily burst off of this right foot and use something called the diamond release. I take my 3 steps, I angle him at this DB's outside shoulder, outside hip, make him think that we're running vertical, and then maybe we slip back underneath him. It's easy for me to react because both feet are in the ground. I'm in a balanced position to where I can read the DB and gather info on the DB. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, what if the DB just sits up top? Then what I could do is when I hit that split release, I could throw a hip fake, a shoulder fake, try to get him to jump to the outside, and then make him miss and go. So the split release, you have many different options. Pre-snap, if that guy's lined up outside shade, you could hit that split release, throw a little jab outside, and then go. If he's lined up inside shade, let's say maybe you have to run like a fade route or some type of outside breaking, we could hit a split release, give him a little jab inside to hold his leverage, and then go. There are many things you could do off of this split release, which is why I feel all wide receivers need to learn this move.